Has it become clear to you yet? Or is it at least becoming a bit clearer? I mean, do you see what causes low-level feelings of stress, anxiety, and hopelessness? You subconsciously believe that life is a cause and effect story and that you are an isolated character at the center of that life and death narrative. And so you're trapped, forever trying to stay in control and thinking about how to cause life to be the least problematic that it can be for you and for your loved ones. Thinking, trying, controlling, certainty, comparison, comfort, that persistent identity-centric illusion created by your hyperactive storytelling mind. It sucks you in and keeps you hooked to a character role, to fear, to habit, to the numbing deception of consistency. And so round and round you go on a wheel of routine, a tedious chore of accumulation and maintenance, up and down, wondering if that's all there really is to life. And sadly, you get used to it and eventually come to enjoy it. Yeah, enjoy it. I mean, I remember reading about a couple of researchers in the Netherlands, and they wanted to challenge a prevailing assumption, one that suggests mice run in wheels because they're captive and neurotic, like animals pacing in cages. So they placed some running wheels in nature, and guess what happened? Wild mice showed up and ran in the wheels, even in the absence of food rewards. Running in wheels appears to be more than a coping behavior. It may be enjoyable. Human beings enjoy the wheel too, the wheel of unconscious habitual thinking and behavior, the happy trance of the status quo. And that's because wheel running is a distraction, an escape from the quiet voice of the truth. Yes, it makes you feel solid and safe, and it provides a sense of progress, but you lose touch with your inner self. I used to believe that restless wheel runners were unhappy. I was dead wrong. They're as happy as anyone else, perhaps even happier. Yeah, it's a mediocre way to live, but it does give you the reassuring feeling of knowing what's going on and what to expect. And so if you're running in a wheel, you're probably not going to experience the fullness of life or create anything truly original and meaningful. Look, before the idea for a movie grabbed me, I was running in my particular wheel, and it was making me a little bit sick and taking me nowhere, frankly. When out of that nowhere, a voice whispered something ridiculously obvious. Get off, stupid. So I did. And suddenly, there was this recognition that my way of being could no longer serve me. So I yielded to another way of being, a way that took my emptiness and frustration and turned it into something meaningful, something that transcended me. And through that dance with my own internal struggles, and I'm still dancing with them, trust me, I eventually escaped that limiting script that had me stuck. Guess what? You can escape too once you realize that life is not a story and there is no happily ever after. The present is not an extrapolation of the past, and the future isn't an integral part of a present that unfolds. That script is invented in your head. It's all an illusion. Instead, as the poet Mark Strand wrote, the future is always beginning now. The reality is that life is improv, and now is all there is. And more importantly, which I've said over and over and over, you are not an isolated character. That's another narrative illusion. You are inextricably woven into your environment. Your surroundings create you, and you create your surroundings. Everything and everyone is a connected, dynamic whole. And that is the essential paradoxical tension you must dance with to achieve the freedom you truly seek. Living in the complex and chaotic outer world, fully engaged with others in relationships, in families, in various groups and organizations, it will create a chaotic inner world of irritation, independence, and dissatisfaction. Unless you are aware of what's really going on, of the tension between your essence, your inner longing, and the world, your conditioned drives and expectations, both of yourself and of others. You see, and that's why many people on the path of self-transcendence try to escape to a cabin in the woods or a monastery of like-minded people. Because the challenge of dancing with the actual world of human imperfection is simply too great for them. They can't handle the improv. They find themselves getting sucked back into the drama, taking on serious roles and reacting to scripted circumstances. So instead of engaging and creating, they withdraw. They walk off the stage or search for a more coherent script and an inspiring director, someone to tell them what to do and how to do it. An expert or guru who will make it all right. Look, 500 years ago, Michel de Montaigne said, "My life has been filled with terrible misfortune, most of which never happened." I mean, misfortune or fortune, what happens in life has little to do with the stories you endlessly spin in your head. And believe it or not, what happens also has little to do with your rational decisions. You see, conscious mastery of existence is another illusion. Try as you may, you control very little. You're unaware of your swarm of cognitive biases, your mental faults and limitations. And even if you were conscious of them, you simply wouldn't have the time or energy to consider them all. It's impossible. And so most of the time, you're being pushed and pulled by your environment and by your intuitions. It's the complex, chaotic nature of life. So how do you navigate that reality? What heuristics or simple rules do you employ to deal with what arises, to guide your intuitions and move you in the best direction for the quality of your life and for the world? The 3 C's of Keats: curiosity, compassion, and creativity. You see, they're not meant to be commandments or noble truths. They're meant to give your life orientation, to help you consider what you're attracted to, and to guide your inner drives and thus your destiny. I mean, Carl Jung claimed, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That unconscious director is Coleridge. And fate is what happens when you follow the script and passively succumb to what he tosses at you. But if you listen to your essence, to the voice of Keats, it will alter your fate and create your unique destiny. So do this. When you're trying to decide what actions to take in a given situation, simply ask yourself a few quick questions and then answer them with brutal honesty. Ask, is the voice I'm hearing right now the voice of my curious, loving spirit? If not, tune it out. Am I responding to life in the moment by being true to that unique spirit in character? If not, then push past your fear and your identity concerns and honor your compassionate essence. Will it provide me with a new experience? If it excites your spirit and it's not going to kill you, then take a chance and do it, especially if it will temporarily knock you out of your comfortable character role. And look, to calm down the voice of Coleridge, ask yourself this: what's the worst thing that can happen if I do it? And Is it possible that someday I'll regret not doing it? And for heaven's sakes, whatever it is, don't Google it. If you have an idea, any idea, and you Google it, you will inevitably find it. If you're working on something, someone else on the planet is working on something very similar. Today's instant access to information about everyone and everything is having a deadly effect on people's confidence. It's shutting down the childlike optimism required to pursue a new idea. I mean, the data is clear, so why take the risk, right? But the real risk isn't found in the data. It's the risk of not fully living during your one trip around the track. It's the risk of regret. So ignore it. Stop trying to figure everything out. It is impossible. The great sociologist Emil Durkheim wrote, "A mind that questions everything, unless strong enough to bear the weight of its ignorance, risks questioning itself and being engulfed in doubt." No one can predict the future. Hindsight is required to tell you what works and what doesn't. And while you're waiting for the conditions to be just right, the beauty and excitement of life is flying right on by. So ignore all of that doubt-inducing information. Be driven by curiosity and passion. Have the wisdom and courage to follow your heart. I distinctly remember an interview I watched with the writer Vince Gilligan. So Gilligan is the creator behind Malcolm in the Middle, The X-Files, and the hit movie Hancock. Here's what he said about his acclaimed television series Breaking Bad. He said the idea sprung into his head fully formed, somewhat in an instant. He was amazed that he even pitched the idea and that it's on the air, since on paper it should not work. He's glad he didn't know about the existence of the TV series Weeds, a similar idea, because had he known about Weeds, he would have never gone forward and pitched Breaking Bad. Do you see? So forget who you were. Forget what you've done. And forget what others are doing. Simply ask, what am I passionate about? Now go do that. And bingo, that's who you are. Do you see? It's not about the dance. It's about the dancing. Look, and the final question to ask is this: am I being as compassionate and caring as possible with the unique spirit and character of others? Now, I find that last question to be the most challenging, because one of the most difficult things to appreciate is that others are most likely lost in their own stories and feel that they are the central characters of their lives. And from their perspective, you are one of the supporting characters in their heroic journeys. You revolve around them. So how can you be conscious of your own life while being a supporting character in other people's lives? How can you lift people up and give them faith in their own potential, inspire them to be truly alive, and let them experience their unique unfolding lives, while at the same time allowing your inner spirit to evolve and direct you? Look, it is a daunting challenge, because we want others to be what we want them to be, primarily to make us comfortable and support us in our particular scene. So how do you relieve that tension? How do you balance inner exploration with outer interaction? It's so simple and yet so damn hard. Shut down Coleridge. Give up the need to be right and to control the scene. Stop trying to fix people and stop worrying about what everyone is thinking. People aren't here to be your supporting characters, so don't project your director onto them. Give them control. Let go of narrative thinking in your egotistical role and realize that your scene is yours and their scenes are theirs. You simply won't please everyone, but it is your one life that you are living. And anyway, not everyone will please you either. Plus, realize this ultimate truth. You can't hold on and direct things even if you wanted to. There's nothing to hold on to. It's all energy, moving, shifting, doing its unique dance of desire. Look, everyone's fate is known, okay? We all die. There's no way out of saving ourselves. It's our destiny that's unknown, because no one can predict the outcome of his or her actions. Destiny emerges through our choices and then flows through the world like blood through a body. I mean, do you know where your blood flow begins and ends? Have you any idea what it nourishes and how? Of course not, because it's natural and dynamic. And guess what? Therefore, you don't worry about it. But so are you. So why can't you simply relax and flow with your essence and nourish the world with your uniqueness? That's the challenge with improv and with serendipity. You have no idea how your choices will flourish and affect your future or the lives of others, but they most certainly will. You also don't know which random circumstances will evoke Keats in you and in others and expose you to those serendipitous encounters. So look, since reason doesn't guide your life, because it can't, you can never become so self-aware that all of your actions become the result of your conscious choices. You must therefore stay vigilantly attuned to your choice of environment and to your intuitions. You must consciously place yourself on stages where people empower you, and then diligently work to get your feelings of what choices to make from your essence and not from your fearful director. Be skillful in your dancing with yourself and with others, because how you act and move through the world is what creates your world. Whenever I share my serendipitous I Am Keats journey, two requests invariably confront me. Tell me about the strange occurrences, and tell me how you did it. You see, people want to hear an engaging story and they want to imagine a predictable path. This appears to be how we're all wired. We want to believe we can orchestrate success through knowledge and hard work. We understand that we have choices and we want to know how to make the best ones. What's the cognitive process? Give us the decision flow chart, right? Maybe I can put an app on my phone and tell me what to do. God, in fact, when I released the short book that contained the lessons I discovered about life while writing the screenplay, many inspired readers reached out to me looking for a strategy to employ to let go and be spontaneous. Now that's pretty ironic, right? They were clinging to a desire for certainty and control, but it's impossible to provide. Life is much too complicated and dynamic to be managed by a checklist in your conscious mind. Life is like, I don't know, playing tennis. No one can tell you how to return a 100-mile-an-hour serve. And if you're on the court and you're thinking about how to do it, you never will. You will not even touch the ball. You have to shut down your thinking mind, negate your conditioned instincts, because they will work against you, and then use the circumstances of your game or life as opportunities to practice. Oh, here comes a lob. Damn. A smash. Oops. A drop shot. Practice, 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 and then flow with the game. Retrain your instincts and let your nature move you. Play with life. Don't be played by life. The great Russian actor and teacher Stanislavski once said that when an actor had exhausted all avenues and methods of creativeness, the actor reaches a limit beyond which human consciousness cannot extend. Here begins the realm of the unconscious, of intuition, which is not accessible to mind, but is to feelings. And while you can't choose those feelings, you do have sway over how you understand them. And that observation and self-understanding can then modify and sculpt your future instincts. You know, it's like screenwriters who spend countless hours watching and rewatching movies in order to discover the nuances of their hypnotic story structure, right? And to do so, they must purposefully knock themselves out of the trance of those stories and observe, question, pause, rewind and replay, reflect and discern. It requires effort and time. And at the start, it is an unnatural, uncomfortable, and draining process. Trust me, I've done it. Look, life is an incredibly strange and beautiful dance to experience unless you let Coleridge lead you, unless you think life should be other than what it is, and that through your conscious decisions you can somehow make it happen the way you want it to, and that luck and serendipity have little or nothing to do with it, and that eventually you'll arrive at some place out in the future that is happy and secure and worry-free. It is a bullshit illusion. Let it go. I mean, this mechanistic Newtonian model of reality, Coleridge's linear cause and effect thinking, is one of the most stifling yet imperceptible mental cages. You feel that you are causing everything in your life to happen. I mean, just like a screenplay, you feel a continuous and causal connection between your backstory, your present situation and actions, and your ultimate future. It's a dangerous, anxiety-producing illusion, and you invent it as a natural extension of your self-story. It turns life into a struggle instead of a dance. If you love life, you accept what it presents to you and you cooperate and collaborate and move with it and move on if the environment isn't serving your spirit. Think of yourself as a dancing flower. I know, just go with me on this one. So you could either say that you, the flower, cause butterflies to move towards you, or you could say the butterflies value movement towards you. Right? Now, scientifically speaking, both statements are exactly the same. But metaphorically speaking, they are very different. To believe that you cause things to move towards you implies certainty and control. To believe that things value movement towards you implies preference and chance. If you adopt cause and effect thinking, you'll adhere to the script. You'll plant yourself in one place and follow formulaic thinking and behavior, even in the face of dissatisfaction in a changing environment. I mean, even worse, that infertile environment, at least to your type of flower, will cause you to close up. You'll constantly question and judge yourself, wondering if you're good enough, smart enough, have tried hard enough, and every other Coleridge-induced limiting thought. Eventually, you'll end up feeling weak and desperate, and despite your intentions, you'll come across that way to others as well. Yet another paradox. The harder you try to make things happen, the more you force it, the more elusive they become. But once you realize that the world is chaotic and dynamic, that no one is in control, you'll stop chasing your future. You'll relax, open up your beautiful flower, jump in and join the dance. That's how you spark serendipity. Live from the inside out and give full expression to the gift that has come to you, your unique essence and ideas. And then dance with that passionate spirit in as many diverse and fertile fields as possible. Unfold your delicate petals your center of being. Let the butterflies come to you. When you meet with someone, anyone, do you know precisely what you are going to say or how it will turn out? Of course not. I mean, when you get ready to play a game, do you know exactly what you're going to do or what the result will be? No. When you consider a new job or have a new idea, do you have any idea, without a doubt, what will happen if you pursue it? Of course not. You may have, I don't know, a glimpse, even a plan, but you don't actually know what will happen. No one does. Expectations are simply more soothing stories that Coleridge tells you about your future to keep you calm and in your place. They're mental illusions, but ones that can have devastating effects on your life. You may remember the Greek myth about Pandora. No, not the streaming music service, right? The first woman created by the gods. So Pandora was given a box. Actually, it was a jar. And she was instructed to never open it. Okay, so fat chance, right? Anyway, she opened it and out flew all the evils of humanity. Hate, pain, disease, internet pop-up ads. When Pandora was aware of what she had done, she quickly closed the jar and trapped one item inside. Do you know what it was? Elpis, hope. But why hope? Is hope evil, like the other contents? Nietzsche thought so. He called hope the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of man. Now, I appreciate where Friedrich was coming from. I'm also predisposed to scoff at hope and to face up to the realities of life. But I see it a bit differently. Hope is a double-edged sword. It can be evil, especially when it keeps you on a misguided path, one that causes you to live a disengaged or inauthentic life, in which inevitably gives rise to the other evils in that jar: burdensome toil, regret, despair. But hope truly is a paradox because hope also helps you remain optimistic and push forward in the face of adversity and setbacks. The great writer and director David Mamet wrote, "We all hope. It's what keeps us alive." And he's right. But being alive and living an authentic, inspired life are quite different. You see, hope can blind you to your cage and keep you locked up and passive. To be fully alive, you must know when to abandon hope, when to smash the jar of conjecture on the hard ground of reality, embrace your individuality, change course, and allow unexpected possibilities to emerge and create life anew. You see, hope isn't evil, it's just another tension. You need hope to move you to pursue your desires, to create something new and change yourself in the world. Rather, it's the expectation that it will turn out the way you want it to turn out that drives you crazy. So deal with the reality of life and treat it like you do any other game. Play it with passion and with the sincere hope that you will win, that you will get the results in the world you want. But man, never expect that you will. Don't pin your happiness on an outcome. Love what you do, pain and all. Difficulty is a great teacher that brings you closer and closer to your essence. I watched a beautiful little film called Still Mine. It's based on a true story about 89-year-old New Brunswicker Craig Morrison. Now, in the movie, Morrison sets out on a journey to build a more suitable house for his ailing wife, using the same methods his shipbuilder father taught him. But on the way, he runs into problem after problem after problem. Now, after watching the film and wiping away a tear, I thought a lot about struggle and accomplishment. I mean, I remember as a boy accompanying boxers to inner city gyms. And I'd watch them pridefully endure horrible conditions and physical torture, frankly. And I finally realized that their hardship was an integral and desirable part of their journey. Later in life, I saw comedians bomb. I saw artists destroy hours of painstaking work. Writers, including yours truly, paralyzed in a fog of doubt. You see, but the best endured because they loved the process. They were one with the work. There was something inside of them that they had to express, to get out, and to get across to the world. Thomas Mann wrote, "A writer is someone for whom writing is more difficult than it is for other people." And that's true of everyone on an inspired journey. Basketball was more difficult for Michael Jordan. Politics was more difficult for Abraham Lincoln. Civil rights advocacy was more difficult for Dr. King. Teaching the truth of our humanity was more difficult for Jesus. The greatest don't see an endpoint. They're driven by the realities of the here and now, by the process, not the proceeds. For them, the struggle is an integral part of their journeys. In fact, and they're probably not consciously aware of it, the process is their goal, because the journey and the outcome are one and the same. I've been privy to the lifestyles and routines of scores of athletes, weightlifters, football players, boxers, collegiate wrestlers, martial artists, downhill skiers. And I've come to realize a simple distinction between them and just about everyone else. It became clear to me at the gym one day when I witnessed a guy eating rice from a plastic container. I looked at him, I said, "Hey, what the hell are you eating?" "Rice." "Rice? It's 9 o'clock in the morning." And he said, "It's part of my program." And then he quietly walked away. There you have it. No need to discuss it. He does what he does because it needs to be done, period. One of my university roommates did hundreds of push-ups each night before bed. And another would sit against a wall in an invisible chair while reading his assigned text. None of them invented their extreme diets and painful exercises, nor did they particularly enjoy them. But they wanted to change, to release their inner essence and be the best they could be during their temporary scenes. They weren't comparing themselves to others because they were in a different competition, one with themselves. And so they sought out advice and then followed that advice, typically training to failure in order to realize their unique potential. Look, life is enormously complex, and the environment and people we interact with are extremely complicated. And so are we. Therefore, we have no real choice but to hope, to push forward, and to improvise. But you'd never know that based on the stories we tell ourselves, stories which appear to mimic the ones we create and share with each other. I mean, really consider a movie. It's a tense and taut cause and effect construction. What happens in one scene determines what happens in later scenes, and everything that happens has a definitive purpose. Screenwriters obsess over every image, word, action, music, so that it moves the story forward from the unexpected opening scene until the cathartic ending in an engaging and cohesive way. I mean, every dot is connected. Nothing is random. And that's why we like movies so much. There's structure and meaning. Even when something bad happens, we know it's simply part of the plan, right? Life isn't like that. Not at all. It isn't a purposeful construction with some kind of central thesis. Stuff just happens. And that's why it's so challenging to create a film biography about a real person, right? Because the filmmaker digs in to the character's life and discovers a bunch of random events, right? There's no cohesive drama. And so the filmmaker must decide what period of the person's life to highlight, which scenes to include and exclude, in what order to present those scenes for dramatic effect. I mean, when the biography eventually makes it to the big screen, the entire story of that person's life ends up looking deliberate and heroic. It's a lie. It's funny, if you ask screenwriters for advice on how to write a great screenplay, they'll get all Coleridge with you and give you their script, the 10 steps to success, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, and all kinds of other logical frameworks and templates. But ask someone how he or she wrote such a successful screenplay, and suddenly it becomes a Keatsian affair with serendipitous encounters, ideas from the muse, and a whole lot of intuition, improvisational writing, and hard work. Don't let the stories people tell you fool you. Success is really more a matter of courage than knowledge. All the information in the world is no substitute for the guts to follow Keats. Tom Peters, the legendary management guru, recently wrote, "I am only 75, but I have never yet had a plan about what to do next. Career plan is a great way to stifle serendipity." Pretty amazing, huh? I've never had a plan. No. Serendipity has always been my strategy. Now look, I crave certainty. We all crave certainty. We want to believe that everything will turn out okay, that everyone will be fine. I almost said happy, but there's a difference. And that's why you resist change. Not because you dislike change. You can't dislike something you can't imagine. Rather, you dislike the scary unknown. Despite pithy quotes like Eleanor Roosevelt's, "Do one thing every day that scares you," you seldom do anything that truly scares you. Instead, you submit and simply work longer and harder at what you already know, at what works. And then you hope like hell that everything will be all right. Human beings have a built-in unconscious aversion towards risk. So you choose the safest option. And what appears safest is what's immediate and visceral, what's in your grasp and right in front of your eyes. Why? Because you don't want to lose what you already have. Your position, status, money, lifestyle. So you hold on tight, which means that you are tethered to what you're grasping, to your beliefs, your stories, to routine and dependence, to a life of foolish consistency. And so you'll never fly high and feel free. But there is an option: aimless wandering. I'm being quite sincere. Cut the damn cord, at least temporarily. Place yourself in a strange environment. Pick up a random book and read it. Start a relationship with someone who fascinates you. Volunteer at a nonprofit. Take an employee to lunch. Yes, we all want to live authentic lives, but authenticity isn't about what you choose to do. It's about how you choose to do it. So get out there and do something, anything new. Stop trying to figure it all out. Stop trying to protect yourself from an unknowable future, and instead be a connected and passionate part of the here and now. Let serendipity be your new strategy, and watch it unfold your unique destiny.